Well, hey, good afternoon, Sanctuary Church. We are so glad you've tuned in for day number 13 of the great COVID lockdown. Today we're going to be looking at John chapter 15. We've been talking over this week about the last days of Jesus. And so, as you know, in the last two messages, Jesus is in the upper room. They're at the Last Supper. He's washed his disciples' feet. He's told them yesterday, hey, don't fret. I've got this under control. And then Jesus starts talking about relationship between him and the disciples and the Father. And this is where Jesus, in this section, where he actually makes it more personal. This is where he kind of releases the disciples from being the disciples, and they're 1 foot in discipleship and now 1 foot in being apostles. And this is such a great section of Scripture. So I'm going to read John chapter 15, verses 1 to 7. I encourage you to read the rest of this section after we get off camera, but let me read it to you. Jesus says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself, it must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourself to be my disciple. So here's 3 things I want us to think about. The first is we are the branches. Now, if you know anything about gardening or cultivating trees, there's good branches and there's bad branches, right? The good branches will grow and they have beautiful leaves. It's a fruit tree. They produce a lot of fruit. If they're bad branches, they usually wither and die, and you have to cut them off. We are the branches. Jesus is the vine. So when we're thinking about a tree, Jesus would be the trunk. On a viney plant, he would be the main vine that gives sustenance to the branches. And then here's the big one, is God is the gardener. He is the master pruner. Now, when we look at this section of Scripture, we learn some interesting things. You can have good branches, you could have bad branches. The bad branches are cut off because they don't bear fruit. They wither and die. They are gathered up. They are thrown in the fire. They are disposed of. They are of no use. But the good branches that bear fruit, see, there's 2 different kinds of cutting on the trees that the gardener does. He's going to cut off the bad branches and burn them. But if it's a good branch, he's going to prune it. He's going to prune it back, and that branch will grow. Now, if you've ever had a fruit tree or any type of plant that does that, you know when you prune in the right places that more fruit usually comes out the next year. Now, it doesn't mean that the good branches, good believers, are not going to have times of reproof. That's what the pruning is. God sometimes has to prune us, and sometimes pruning hurts. But we have to understand one thing: that whether we're a good branch or a bad branch, the one thing is this: is that apart from Christ, we can do nothing. And I really believe it's in this point of the dinner that a lot of the disciples started understanding what Jesus was talking about. And it's important for us to understand as well that without Jesus, apart from Jesus, we can do nothing. The world wants to take over everything we do. The world wants to have influence over us. Stay away from the world. They're the bad branches. Stay away from the world. They're the bad branches. I'm going to say it again. Stay away from the world. They're the bad branches. There's a lot of believers that are in the world. They're the bad branches. Be a good branch. Bear fruit. And it just doesn't mean bearing fruit and winning souls. It means bearing fruit by doing every other thing that Jesus tells us to do, like serving the poor and taking care of the widow and the orphan and doing the right things that we're supposed to do. So anyway, I hope you guys were blessed by today. Remember that Easter Sunday service is at 10:45. It's going to be broadcast on YouTube Live. And so God be with you. We'll see you tomorrow on Monday, Thursday. God bless you. We love you. We'll see you. Bye.